Number 2, we're dealing with a rectangle, so we need to keep rules of rectangles in our mind. We're given the RV is 7, and that angle 9 is 50 degrees. On rectangles, we have the diagonals are going to bisect each other, and they're also congruent to one another. So the bisecting part means cut in half. So RV is 7, that means VT is also 7. And since these diagonals are congruent to one another, I know that UV will be 7 and VS is also 7. The other thing we know about rectangles is that we have 90-degree angles. So our interior angles, such as 8 and 9, those pairs will be complementary to one another. So 8 and 9 is complementary, 11 and 1 is complementary, 7 and 6 is complementary, and 3 and 4 is complementary. It means they add up to 90 degrees. So whatever angle 9 is, if that's 50, then number 8 can be found by 90 degrees minus 50 degrees. That gives us 40 degrees for angle 8. 40 degrees. Let me make a little better degree sign there. Then we can use that information along with other rules of the rectangle to figure out our answers. We're looking for measurement of angle 11 first. So angle 11 is here. Well, the way I'm going to find that is going to go back to our diagonals. So we're looking at our diagonals. These are going to be congruent to one another. So that means this side and this side are the same. So if that's side 7, this side's 7, what I end up having is an isosceles triangle. So if angle 9 is 50 degrees, angle 11 has to be 50 degrees. And that's just a general rule of rectangle you can memorize, or you could have figured it out based on knowing that that's an isosceles triangle, which means that those two angles have to be the same. So I got a 50 degree and a 50 degree. If angle 8 is 40 degrees, because those are complementary, then I don't really even have to do the math. I should know that angle 1 is 40 degrees. But if I did have to do the math, it'd just be 90 minus 50 gives me 40 degrees. And then so on. So angle 1's 40 degrees. I know I got another isosceles triangle because they're all isosceles triangles. So that means angle 3 is 40 degrees. And then what happens is you have the angles with the bases that are parallel to each other, or the triangles that are made that has the parallel bases to one another. They end up being the same thing, just flipped. So it's kind of like a mirror image of each other. So I've got two isosceles triangles that have 50-degree angles and 7 for my sides. And then I have two more isosceles triangles that has 40, 40 for my two angles. And then, of course, these angles in the middle can be found by using triangle sum. So let's look at angle 8. Angle 8, I've already filled it in. Looks like it was 40 degrees. And I found that because 90 minus 50 was 40. Angle 5, haven't filled that in yet. This angle, it's going to be found by using the triangle sum rules. They add up to 180. So 180 minus 50 degrees, or minus 50 degrees, you could just set 100 from the beginning. And did 80 degrees, you probably didn't even have to write it down, but angle 5 would be 80 degrees. And the other thing I'm looking for is US. US is the length of this diagonal all the way across. If this half is 7 and that half is 7, then the whole thing is 14.